The book of Genesis. It is the first book of the Bible. It is also the first book of the Torah, the Jewish sacred text. Genesis tells the story of beginnings. It describes the creation of the world, the first humans, and the early history of humanity. Genesis 1, in particular, focuses on the majestic act of creation. It tells how God, the sole deity, brings forth the universe from a state of formlessness and void. This creation narrative is not presented as a dry, historical account. Instead, it is a powerful, poetic testament to the divine. God speaks and creation springs forth. Light pierces the darkness. Waters teem with life. Land emerges ready to be inhabited. Genesis 1 is a story about power, order, and purpose. It establishes a foundational understanding of God as the ultimate creator and sustainer of all that exists. This understanding has shaped Western thought for millennia. It continues to resonate with people of faith today. This image captures the awe-inspiring moment of creation as depicted by Michelangelo. It serves as a visual reminder of the profound impact Genesis 1 has had on art and human imagination. We will now delve into the details of this creation story. We will explore both its literal and symbolic interpretations. Genesis 1 unfolds over a span of 7 days. Each day marks a distinct stage in God's creative work. This structure emphasizes the deliberate and orderly nature of creation. Imagine a vast, dark emptiness. This is the canvas upon which God begins to paint the universe. Day 1. Let there be light, God declares. And suddenly, light floods the darkness. Day is separated from night, marking the beginning of time itself. Day 2, God separates the waters above from the waters below, creating the sky. This expanse, called heaven, forms a dome over the earth. Day 3, dry land emerges from the waters below. God calls it earth. Plants, trees, and vegetation sprout forth, covering the earth with vibrant life. Day 4. The heavens are adorned with celestial bodies. The sun, moon, and stars become markers of time, seasons, and navigation. Day 5. The waters teem with life. God creates sea creatures and birds, filling the air and water with movement and sound. Day 6. Land animals are created in abundance, from cattle to creeping creatures. Finally, God creates humanity in his own image. This is the pinnacle of creation, reflecting God's own nature and purpose. Day 7, God rests. This day of rest, the Sabbath, is set apart as holy. It is a reminder that even God's creative work has a rhythm of work and rest. This visual journey through the 6 days of creation helps us appreciate the grandeur and wonder of the Genesis account. Each day unfolds with purpose and intention, culminating in a world teeming with life and reflecting the glory of its creator. Certain verses in Genesis 1 hold particular significance. They offer profound insights into the nature of God, creation, and humanity. Genesis 1 verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. This verse establishes God as the sole creator of all that exists. It asserts that the universe did not arise from chaos or chance. It was the result of a deliberate act by a purposeful God. Genesis 1 verse 27. So God created humankind in his image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them. This verse emphasizes the unique status of humanity within creation. Created in God's image, humans are endowed with a special dignity and responsibility. They are called to reflect God's character in the world. Genesis 1 verse 31. God saw everything that he had made, and indeed, it was very good. This verse affirms the goodness of creation. It emphasizes that everything God made, from the smallest creature to the vastness of the cosmos, is inherently valuable and reflects God's wisdom and love. These key verses, along with the traditional interpretations passed down through generations, form the bedrock of understanding Genesis 1. They invite us to contemplate the awesome power of the Creator, the unique place of humanity within the created order, and the inherent goodness of the world around us. Genesis 1 is characterized by a series of contrasts: order versus chaos, light versus darkness, and the formless versus the formed. These contrasts highlight the transformative power of God's creative actions. The story begins with a state of tohu va-vohu, a Hebrew term often translated as formless and void. This primordial chaos represents the absence of order and structure. It is a state of potential, waiting for the divine spark to ignite creation. God's first act is to separate light from darkness. This separation is not merely physical, but also symbolic. Light represents knowledge, truth, and the divine presence. Darkness represents ignorance, falsehood, and the absence of God. By bringing light into the world, God establishes order and dispels chaos. This theme of order emerging from chaos continues throughout the creation week. God separates the waters above from the waters below, creating the sky and the sea. He gathers the waters to reveal dry land, establishing boundaries and distinctions within creation. With each act, God imposes order on the formless, transforming chaos into a harmonious cosmos. This interplay of opposites is not a battle between good and evil, as some might interpret it. Instead, it represents the creative tension inherent in the act of bringing something new into being. Chaos is not the enemy, but rather the raw material upon which God's creative power works. It is through this dance of opposites that the universe takes shape, revealing the beauty and complexity of God's design. Section 5. Painting the Cosmic Canvas. Abstract art and the symbolism of creation. Abstract art, with its emphasis on form, color, and texture, can serve as a powerful lens through which to view the symbolic richness of Genesis 1. Imagine a canvas awash in swirling greys and blacks, representing the primordial chaos before creation. Then a burst of brilliant white pierces the darkness, symbolizing the divine light that inaugurates creation. This stark contrast captures the dramatic moment when God speaks and the universe is born. The separation of the waters above and below can be envisioned as horizontal bands of color. Deep blues and greens represent the waters teeming with life, while lighter blues and whites evoke the expanse of the sky. This visual representation highlights the order and structure emerging from the watery depths. As land emerges from the waters, earthy browns and greens appear on the canvas. Organic shapes and textures suggest the growth of vegetation, while hints of yellow and orange symbolize the life-giving energy of the sun. Abstract art allows us to move beyond literal interpretations of Genesis 1 and engage with its deeper symbolism. By exploring the interplay of color, form, and texture, we can gain a more nuanced understanding of the creative process and the profound truths embedded in this ancient text. Section 6. A story in context. Understanding the world of ancient Mesopotamia. To fully appreciate Genesis 1, we must consider the historical and cultural context in which it was written. The creation narrative emerged in ancient Mesopotamia, a region known as the cradle of civilization. Mesopotamian culture was deeply influenced by its environment. The Tigris and Euphrates rivers, while essential for life, were also unpredictable and often destructive. Floods, droughts, and other natural disasters were common occurrences, leading to a sense of vulnerability and a desire for order in the face of chaos. Ancient Mesopotamians were polytheistic, believing in a pantheon of gods and goddesses who controlled various aspects of the natural world. These deities were often seen as capricious and even dangerous, their actions dictated by personal whims rather than moral principles. Against this backdrop, the creation story of Genesis 1 presents a radical departure. It proclaims the existence of a single, all-powerful God who is not subject to the whims of nature or other deities. This God is presented as rational, orderly, and benevolent. He creates the world through a series of deliberate acts, bringing order out of chaos and establishing a stable foundation for life. Understanding this historical and cultural context helps us appreciate the revolutionary nature of Genesis 1. It was not simply a retelling of existing creation myths. It was a bold statement of faith that challenged prevailing beliefs and offered a new understanding of the divine and humanity's place in the cosmos. Section 7. Echoes of Creation. Genesis and other ancient Near Eastern myths. While unique in its monotheistic perspective, Genesis chapter 1 shares some similarities with other creation myths from the ancient Near East. These parallels highlight the common human desire to understand the origins of the universe and humanity's place within it. One example is the Babylonian creation epic. Like Genesis, describes a primordial chaos from which the world emerges. However, in the Babylonian myth, creation is the result of a violent battle between warring deities. Marduk, the patron god of Babylon, defeats the primordial sea goddess Tiamat and uses her body to create the heavens and the earth. Another example is the Egyptian creation myth, which centers on the god Atum. Atum emerges from the primordial waters of Nun and through a series of self-transformations creates the other gods and goddesses as well as the world itself. Despite these similarities, Genesis chapter 1 stands apart in its emphasis on creation by divine word and its depiction of a single all-powerful God who is both transcendent and immanent. While other myths portray creation as the result of conflict or the actions of multiple deities, Genesis presents a unified and purposeful creation, reflecting the will and character of a single creator. Section 8, the words of creation, delving into the Hebrew text of Genesis 1. The original Hebrew text of Genesis chapter 1 reveals a depth and nuance often lost in translation. For example, the Hebrew word for created, bara, is used exclusively in connection with God. This emphasizes the unique and unparalleled nature of God's creative act. The phrase tohu vavohu, formless and void, is another example of the richness of the Hebrew language. These words evoke a sense of emptiness and potentiality, suggesting a state of being that is not simply nothingness, but rather a canvas upon which God's creative power can be unleashed. The repetition of certain phrases, such as "God said and it was so," highlights the power and efficacy of God's word. Each utterance brings about an immediate and tangible change in creation, underscoring the idea that God speaks and the universe obeys. By engaging with the original Hebrew, we gain a deeper appreciation for the poetic beauty and theological depth of Genesis chapter 1. We begin to appreciate the subtle nuances of language that contribute to the text's enduring power and relevance. Section 9, the Genesis Enigma, exploring different scholarly perspectives. The authorship and dating of Genesis chapter 1 have been the subject of much scholarly debate. Traditionally, the book of Genesis, along with the first 4 books of the Bible, the Pentateuch, has been attributed to Moses. However, modern scholarship generally views the Pentateuch as a composite work, compiled and edited over centuries, with contributions from multiple sources. Some scholars suggest that Genesis chapter 1 may have been composed during the Babylonian exile in the 6th century BCE, as a way for the Israelites to affirm their faith in God's power and sovereignty in the face of exile and uncertainty. Others believe that it may have originated earlier, perhaps during the reign of King Josiah in the 7th century BCE as part of a religious reform movement. Despite these differing perspectives, there is a general consensus among scholars that Genesis chapter 1 reflects a sophisticated theological understanding of God, creation, and humanity. Regardless of its precise origins, Genesis chapter 1 remains a foundational text for Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, shaping religious beliefs and ethical values for millennia. Section 10, A Timeless Tale, the enduring relevance of Genesis 1. Genesis chapter 1, though written thousands of years ago, continues to resonate with contemporary readers, offering insights into timeless questions about the origins of the universe, the nature of humanity, and our relationship with the natural world. In an age of scientific advancement, Genesis chapter 1 reminds us that the universe is not simply a collection of random particles. It is a creation. Imbued with purpose and meaning, it invites us to approach the natural world with awe and wonder, recognizing the intricate web of life that sustains us. The creation story also challenges us to confront the ecological crisis facing our planet. As beings created in God's image, we are called to be stewards of creation, caring for the earth and its resources for future generations. The Sabbath rest, instituted by God at the end of creation, reminds us of the importance of balance in our lives and the need to respect the natural rhythms of work and rest. Genesis chapter 1, with its message of hope, order and purpose, continues to speak to the human spirit, offering guidance and inspiration as we navigate the complexities of the 21st century. It reminds us that we are part of something much larger than ourselves and that we have a responsibility to care for the world entrusted to us.